Hello and welcome to Sofico. My name is Sophie and today we're going to be talking about Lent. Now, I know that for many people who are both religious and non-religious, Lent is a really big time of the year. A lot of people like to give up something as part of Lent. It's a traditional part of Lent, but I know people who are not religious who still also like to keep up this tradition. And I know that it is also currently Ash Wednesday, which means that most people who are giving up something for Lent will have already decided what they're doing and will have already started giving it up. But just in case you haven't, I wanted to create this video with some ideas for eco-friendly things that you could give up for Lent. So the first thing is driving. Now, driving is very obviously not great for the environment. You pretty much have to have been living under a rock for the last 20 years to not have seen reports about how bad driving is for the environment. But to give a few statistics to really put it home how bad the situation is, in the UK alone, 68.5 metric tons of CO2 are released by vehicles every year, and they also estimate that around 40,000 premature deaths can be attributed to air pollution. That's obviously particularly bad in cities, particularly bad in London, which is why all of these new rules are being brought in to increase the amount of cars who are using electric or using other forms of renewable sources of energy. And I also know that for anyone who doesn't live in a city or a town that is very lucky to have a good public transport link, this is likely to be a little difficult. I do appreciate that. I grew up in the countryside, so I know how difficult it can be when you're living in the middle of a village, in the middle of nowhere, and your nearest town is already like a 20-minute drive away, let alone if you had to walk it. But if you're in a situation where you can, if you're living in a big city, then this might be an option for you. It's definitely going to be beneficial to the environment in the long run. The second idea is something else that is very topical at the moment, and that is single-use plastic, or rather giving up single-use plastic. Now, if the idea of giving up all forms of single-use plastic is something that seems a little overwhelming to you, then you can just choose to give up one particular item. For instance, plastic bags are a really huge thing. There's still 13 billion plastic bags that are used by people in the UK every year, which is an insane amount. So if you can reduce the amount of those by any amount, that is definitely a good thing. But obviously the more things that you can choose, the better, because single-use plastic is polluting our oceans, it is getting into our food if any of you eat fish. I mentioned it before, I don't eat fish, but if you do eat fish, then it's in your food sources. And it is completely devastating to so many natural habitats, and it's going to stick around for years. They reckon that it takes a plastic bottle about 500 years to biodegrade, but realistically, nobody knows, because plastic hasn't been around that long. So nobody knows for certain on that one. So definitely anything that you can reduce is wonderful. And the final option that I wanted to share, or wanted to give you an idea about, is giving up meat and dairy. Again, another really topical topic. Can you say topical topic? Topical subject. Subject or topic. I can do words. It's topical. But yes, the meat and dairy industry is absolutely wrecking the planet. There was a study done last year by the University of Oxford that indicated that 18% of calories consumed are created by animal agriculture. But even though it only accounts for 18% of calories consumed, it creates 58% of emissions, it creates 57% of water pollution throughout the agriculture industry, and even more worryingly, it uses 83% of land that is used by the agriculture industry. The same scientists that conducted this study also believe that land use could be reduced by 75% if we weren't using that land for animal agriculture, which, when you consider the horrific effects of deforestation, of course, not just bad for biodiversity, not just bad for wildlife, but also bad for climate change, because those trees are, soaking up their carbon dioxide so that it's not getting released into the atmosphere, and we're just like, hey, let's just chop you down, alright? Now again, meat and dairy might sound like a really huge thing, but I know some people who are just giving up red meat. Red meat is by far the worst out of all types of meat and dairy for the environment. So if you can give up red meat, that's going to be really beneficial, but ultimately anything that you can choose to give up is definitely going to have an impact. So that was just a very quick video. If you've not decided to do anything for Lent, then you can still decide to choose one of these things to concentrate on over the coming weeks, simply because, you know, it's a good idea to try and be more environmentally friendly. But I hope you were inspired by this video. I hope you found something that you might want to do. If you did, give it a little like and comment below with what you are giving up for Lent, if you're giving up anything for Lent. If you're not, comment down below with what you might do in the future to reduce your environmental impact. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time.